Hey scrappers, it's Shark Scrapper back again. This time we are going to scrap the test set that came along with all those traffic controllers I've been tearing apart. Come on, let's go see what's inside this thing. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and hit that bell so you don't miss a single episode. Set for a vehicle traffic light controller. So these are the boxes that control the traffic lights at intersections. Alright, now we're going to take a look at what we got from this. Is the test set. This is not the actual controller boxes. Those will be in a separate video, but this is the old test set. Yeah, these were probably pretty expensive when they were first made. They are out of date now, and I got them from one of the local city governments, getting rid of them, selling them as junk basically, because they've replaced them with much newer stuff. So as we look at this, we've got some pretty interesting items inside here. So we've got some nice ICs here all along the board. A lot of ICs. We'll break one of those open and see what's inside of that. Another whole series of nice ICs across here. Of course, these pins, these are all gold here. So nice gold plated, of course. You can see how old these are by the type of resistors that are in place. And I'll look at these and see if those are tantalum capacitors or not. They could be. So we've got some pretty nice stuff here, some nice transistors there, some pretty heavy transformers here. So those will go in the transformer bucket, of course a bunch of wire. And then this is going to be interesting. This is a rheostat. If you can see this piece right here, travels across this face, and so that you get different signal strength out of it. So that will be kind of interesting, because you can see there's copper wire here, and I got to decide how hard it's going to be when I go to break into that and see if I can get the copper out of that. This here is just a switch. Alright, so there may be silver contacts inside of that. A light. Alright, and then we know that these are going to have gold plate connectors inside there. Let's see if we can see that better. So gold plated connectors inside of there, and then this is just low grade wire here. Now I'll show in another video how I take the back off of this and get at the gold plated pins that are inside here. And given the age of this, I'm guessing these gold plated pins might be relatively good. What happens with those, I accumulate them in a nice little bucket like that. So you can see that this jar is just full of them. And there's I don't know how many years worth of pulling pins out. And someday I'll process those. And then these pins here, I don't usually pull all of them off of a board, but I do pull off some of them, and I accumulate those as well. So here you can see a mixed bag of those kind of pins that have been pulled off of the boards. Alright, and I gotta think what I'll do is, because my yard does not differentiate by telecom board. It's just high grade, medium grade, low grade. So I'm thinking that piece of plastic. I'm thinking that I'll take off some of the. Well, I'm going to take off a couple just to see what's inside of them, but then I'll probably break off some of them to go into my IC collection for processing somewhere down the road, and then just sell that off as a high grade board. Alright, so I'm going to unscrew these so you can see how old this is. Look at these old screws. So I'm going to get this thing unscrewed, get this board up. Let's see what's on the back side of it, and we'll break into one of those and see what's inside there. All right, so we've removed the board from the housing, and now we're looking at, we're going to pull off this, there we go, pull off one of those guys. And we'll take a look and see if we can figure out what's inside here. Alright, so it looks like it's copper. I just don't see any anything that looks like gold in there, although I suppose that could be silver. There's the connectors from inside there. Maybe that's silver. That one looks like copper. So I think what I'm going to do is just leave those. I'm not going to take off anymore. I'm going to put this in with the tactile switches because those have silver, some of them. So that'll just go in with the IC chips, and we'll see when I process, if I ever get around to it. I'm sure I will, or I may just sell them all off. But here's a tactile switches. Okay, so some of you know that there's silver in the tactile switches, and then of course I just throw in all of the silver contacts that I've gotten from various things like switches and stuff like that. So there's just silver contacts in there from various things. All right. And this board just really isn't exciting me a whole lot here now. I mean, it's a cool board. It's definitely a high-grade board. Don't get me wrong there. I'll probably take off maybe one or two of these sets of pins, and let's see what's inside this, because this is kind of an unusual. It's got a little screw on it. 3 pins, 364W2K, so it's an adjustable variable type. We got a little brass screw. That little brass screw was driving a wheel, a threaded wheel. And that was going up against this variable. I'll see if I can get that out without messing it up. There we are. So this screw would turn this wheel, and these contacts would ride and give you different resistance values probably. So again, I think I'm just going to take and pop those over with the silver contacts. There might be silver in there, but I'm going to leave those on there now. Okay. Well, little bolt of thunder, a bolt of lightning with thunder right there next to me. that got my attention. Okay, well, I went and checked the streets. Doesn't look like that bolt of lightning hit any of our houses, so that's a good thing, but wow, that was close. Okay, now then, what I was doing was I wanted to show you, so you can see here now, the gold-plated connectors. These are what's inside of these things here. Now, in some cases, all you have to do is pry this part up, and you'll leave behind the pins. And then you can just pull the pins off. In some cases, this is glued down or bolted down, and it's harder to get to. But if it's pretty easy to pull those up, you know, that's pretty easy there. Then there's a couple ways that you can get these pins off. All right, obviously one of them is to just take your snips and cut it. I recommend that you put your finger over it, because otherwise, if you don't, that gold pin could go flying all over the place and you'll never get it back. Now, another thing you can do is take hold of it with your angle cutters there and give it a tug. Oops, well, I just did what I didn't want to do and shot a gold-plated pin around the yard somewhere. Well, we'll figure out where it is. So the other way, if I can find my other pliers, here we are. The other way to do this is to take a pair of needle nose, grab hold of it down at the base, and give it a twist. And then what happens is it pulls out, and there you can see the gold-plated port, and then the part that's down in the board comes through the other end. All right, so this is not the best set of needle nose, because these are for more delicate kind of operations. Here we are. Here's my heavier duty ones. All right, so you just take hold of it at the base and twist it up, and you can pull out the whole pin. If you have time to do that, great. You get the whole pin. If you don't have time, just cut them, because you can see that if you cut it down low enough, you're getting most of the gold-plated part anyway. Okay, so I cut off those pins. You can see where they were here, and there you can see there's still some gold left in there. Hopefully you can see that there's still some of the gold part is still there. That's okay, I didn't feel like pulling them all out. There's what they look like when you cut them off. And then for me, it's just a matter of putting them in my bucket. By the way, that's really good rice. If you can find that Texamati rice in your grocery store, good rice. Unpaid advertisement. All right, so we've got some ICs that'll go in my IC bucket here in a little bit. All right, so I think that's about all I'm going to do to this board. I looked and I don't see on these things that could be tantalums, I don't see any plus signs or markings for a plus negative, so I don't think those are tantalum. And these guys are not plated, so there's not worth the effort to pull those off, and I seriously doubt that they're silver. All right, so this is going to go in the high grade board. Now, what I have for my system here is my aluminum transformers, wire, insulated wire, and then back here you can see over there low grade, mid grade, high grade. So this high grade board, it'll just go right over here, and then when that bin gets full, I can just pull it out and start up another one until I decide to make a run into the yard. Now, my workbench is a little messy, but this is actually kind of honest for the normal state of affairs here on the workbench at any given time. I always keep a can nearby from cooking, and I just put all the little nuts and bolts and scraps and metal scraps in there, and then that goes into the now that's copper, that's got to go to the copper, but usually this bucket is just scrap steel that will go to the scrap steel. I just haven't carried I want to get these pipes out and get this copper over, brass over with the brass bucket. I just haven't separated that out yet. Now this test board that you saw is going to be interesting because we got all these screws on this side of it. All right, so all those screws will is what I need to get to attack and get these connectors off and get these transformers off. And you don't need to see me unscrew things, so I'm going to go ahead and get to that. All right, so you're probably asking yourself, why in the world did I go through so much trouble to take all this stuff off the shell here? And the answer is because this shell is aluminum. My yard is, I still got to get that light off there. My yard is very sticky about, they pay a good price for aluminum like this, as long as it's clean, no other metals or plastics hanging on it. If you have other stuff hanging on it, then they don't charge you that much. They don't have a category for like irony aluminum or something like that, but you get a lower grade for aluminum that has a bunch of other stuff hanging on it. So get this all cleaned up so it's just nice straight aluminum. And then the other thing that I wanted to show y'all here, here's that. Oh, so always test whatever you pick up, because you know that here's a neodymium magnet. That's not magnetic, lightly magnetic. All right, so that's probably stainless steel. All right, there was a brace in there. That's aluminum. Here's that great big sucker that we pulled out. I'm still trying to decide what I want to do with that. I'm not much of an eBay seller, so yeah, I can't really say that I would take this to and put it up on eBay to sell. I know that there's a lot of folks out there that would. That's just not my gig. So I need to decide. I may just throw this in with transformers. We'll see. And then here's that switch that I pulled out. So I'll break that open, try to get at the silver that's inside there. And here are the 3 transformers that were inside there. I'll take the wires off. Those will go as nice transformers. I don't mess with breaking open the transformers to get the copper. I just sell them as transformers. And then there was a bunch more wire that came out. All right, so if I open this up today, I'll show you the silver contacts that are probably inside there.